and today we got to play the Palaces of Carrara. Now, this game is it's not a worker placement. Sort of, not really.
It's
action selection.
Action selection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But before we get into it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell because board games are amazing, and that's what we do here at Legends of Nirvana. Now, Randy, can you tell us a little bit more about the Palaces of Carrara?
Yeah, now this is a reprint. This is a new version that was re-released from an old one, and this is a 2022 release. It's the deluxe version, and it was available on GameFound. You can still pick this up at Game Steward, which is one of those companies that buys Kickstarters or crowdfunded games and then marks them up and sells them. It's $149.99 on their site now. I paid $90 roughly for it on GameFound when it was available. So you may be able to still get it from Game Brewer, the publisher, but we'll get to that. So the rating for this version is 7.8, and the rank is 67.97. And the original has a rating of 7.2 and a rank of 816. So it's, just because it's been out longer, it's had more time to go up the charts. It's a 2 to 4 player game, average length of 60 to 90 minutes. Age is a 10 and up, which is probably about right. Designed by the team of Michael Kiesling and Wolfgang Kramer. Some of our favorites are by those pair. Art by Franz Vollwinkel. His name's come up a lot too. Again, published by Game Brewer, and right now I don't think you'll find it retail, but at least not this version, but you can potentially get it, like I said, from Game Steward or Game Brewer, and maybe on their website too.
So let's talk about quality of components. So you have this little cardboard hidey hole for your money and your resources so no one can see.
Yeah.
And it's
functional, but it comes apart easy. It's not something.
Well, they have to go in the box, right?
Well, I wish they would have made it more sturdy and allowed functionality for it to go in the box. I don't think
sturdy is the right word because it is really thick cardboard.
Yeah.
I think there's no interlocking mechanisms, but then if there was, it would get destroyed on the reassemble, deassemble.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't want to take it apart. That's the point.
Yeah, so I think they did well with what they had as far as quality is concerned. Now, you do get beautiful metal coins, which they're nice and pretty. And there's enough differentiating between the 1s, 5s, and 10s.
But the 1s are super thin. I wish they would have made them a little thicker.
Well, no, it makes sense, though.
I guess they're all somewhat thin, but they get thicker.
Thin.
They get thicker as they go up.
Yeah, they're fine. And then you do get the statue meeple things, and then you get your not workers per se, your scoring markers. And then...
Yeah, and they have a little screen printed laurels on top of them, so that's nice.
And then you get your bricks of varying colors that represents different stuff.
Well, bricks. They represent building materials.
Building materials, yes. But, it's like, well, what is yellow,
and then,
right?
If you're playing with the advanced rules, they have screen-printed decorations for your buildings.
Yeah. So with that being said, I think they did a pretty good job. During the gameplay, I didn't find anything annoying or, everything was pretty good and pretty solid. I'm actually probably going to give this a 7.5. There was nothing amazing, but everything was okay.
Yeah, I'm probably going to give it a 7 just because one thing that is on the board is the rondelle, the turning dial, and they made it so you can flip it because there's an advanced and a basic version of this game, but the rondelle is very easy for these pieces to pop off. Because there is nothing holding them in place. They spin very easily, and you can get them off kilter. I didn't like the design of that. But everything else is functional, it works fine, and I do like the flexibility they gave to have 2 versions of the game to play in here, and technically 3, because they have retro cards that came with the GameFound to play it as it was the original version, because it played, the original apparently...
Yeah, that was more, that's more of gameplay, but
as far as the quality, I think 7 to 7.5 is where it belongs.
Okay, all right, so now let's actually talk about themes. So the theme is you're building buildings in different cities.
Yep.
I don't know why.
To make them pretty.
To make them pretty.
Here's what the book says.
Oh.
You are the head of a noble family who has received orders from the royal palace to beautify 6 cities in the region, utilizing valuable blocks of marble from the famed quarries in Carrara. You will construct buildings, add decorations, and place statues to fill the cities with marble wonders. From time to time, the royal family will evaluate, score your progress, and reward you with riches and/or victory points. Make sure you keep pace with all the other noble families, because if you don't, you could be leaving VP behind and the game may end before you're ready. The noble family that earns the most VP wins. That's the backstory.
The theme isn't really heavy.
No, it's definitely not.
It's pretty light there. Now, as far as the mechanics go, I mean, I guess if you think this is a market, certain ones have higher value. They kind of go down. Sort of, right? But it doesn't feel that way. It doesn't, the feeling isn't quite heavy enough. I'm going to give this a 6. It's there. It exists. There's some stuff going on, but not really.
Yeah. I mean, I like the colorfulness of it. I'll probably...
The art's good. Let me rephrase. The art is actually very good. The art's pretty beautiful. I like what they did. It's a very, very detailed, the color palette is really good. But as far as theme, mechanics, and that correlation, that's not strong.
No, I'll probably go ahead and give it a 6.5 because of the art and the colors.
That's fair. All right, so now let's move on to the rulebook, Randy.
The rulebook is actually pretty well done. It's 12 pages long. It has a nice cover that matches the box cover, but they did put the backstory on the cover. But it's broken into basically 2 sections, one for the regular version of the game and one for the advanced version. The 2 don't play that differently, but it does add some more scoring options. So this game is definitely a point salad game, and it's got some unique mechanics as far as when you trigger things, which we'll get into during gameplay. But the rules are set up very well for communicating how to play the base game, and then the differences for what you would need to do for the advanced game. Now, what is missing is that retro game. So there's a retro pack to play if you want to play as the original games I mentioned earlier. There is no rules in the book for that at all. If you want to do that, there's a scan code on the pack that will scan and let you download a PDF version of the rules. I didn't like that. I think they should have went ahead and added them to here. Now, it may be because they might be planning on selling this without the retro pack.
Right, because that may have been a Kickstarter only.
Well, it's game bound, but yeah, it may be an exclusive.
Well, yeah.
But I like to have a physical copy of the rules. I don't like the fact that they did. They also, I guess one of the things I should have brought up during quality is Game Brewer loves to create art projects for storage. So they included a bunch of cardboard to build out a storage mechanism. I'm not even going to assemble it for this one because this one is just pointless to add all the storage. It's a nuisance to build it. I don't like art projects. And this one, I don't see a reason for it. But that also...
It's so funny because I love art projects.
It also did not include instructions on how to assemble it. Again, you had to have a scanny thing that you scanned. And
that would annoy me.
Yeah, so it was very frustrating. I don't. That's one thing I don't like about the way Game Brewer does things. I just wish they would just build in the infrastructure into the box to store things.
Yeah, but I mean, there's increased costs, and I know there's a balancing act between price point and making sure you get your stuff in. And a lot of people don't mind the crafting project. I normally wouldn't, so I get it.
But given how it's a 12-page book, it communicates how to play the game 2 different ways. I think it's pretty well done, and there was no confusion. We had no questions on it. I'm going to give it a 9. I think it did a great job on communicating how to play.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about gameplay. Now, as Randy mentioned, there are 2 different kinds of gameplay, easy and hard mode. And so we're going to just focus on the base game just so you guys get a feel of it, and then you'll have to research those additional things that you need to do for the advanced. Now, there is a couple of options. Now, most of the time, I'm actually going to need resources for my building. So I'm going to count the number of tiles on here. There's currently 6. So
Well, you could either claim them as is and pay the face value, or you can turn the dial, and if you do, it's going to be 11 cubes total on the board after you turn it. because you backfill.
All right, so I'm going to turn, and then because I have 6 now, there's going to be 5 added to it. Now, I have a couple of choices I can buy for either one of these 4 sections that currently have things on them. Now, if I go here, you know, there is no green pictured on this section. That means the green is free. So if the tile isn't pictured, it means it doesn't cost you anything. They're just trying to get rid of it out of their inventory. And if there is a picture with a price, that's how much it is. So, for example, in this one, it would cost me 1 to buy both of those, 3 for this, 5, 8, 11 for that. So it's just depending on how much money I have. Or this one has the most, so I can pay quite a bit of money to get a bunch of tiles all at once. I'm a cheapskate, so I'm actually end up only going to pay 1 coin for these 2 tiles. Now it goes to Randy's turn. Now, Randy, on the other hand, he's already has a couple of tiles in his bank, and he's going to end up choosing to purchase a building. So that's another action that you can possibly take. So
there's a tableau of 9 buildings over here. I can choose whichever one I want as long as I have the stone to pay for it. Now, this building here is 1 stone cost. This one here costs 4. So if I pay, based upon which city on my board I choose to place it in, is going to determine what colors of tiles I can pay. I don't have to pay all the same color. I can choose to break it up unless I'm building it in the one that only accepts white. If I put it in that one, then I have to pay 4 white tiles. But if I pay anywhere else, I can pay whatever colors on my board show me. So the values go from purple up to white as far as the value. So the least valuable ones would be Larici, where you can play any color tile. So if I want to build it there, I can just pay any tiles I want. I pay 4 of them to the bank. I don't happen to have any tiles back here, but if I did, I would pay those 4 and I would build it in Larici. And now I'm building up an additional scoring potential in the Larici region.
Okay, now it's my turn again, and you know what? I am completely out of money. I'm not, because I'm not a cheapskate, but because I'm a cheapskate. But I am going to trigger a thing because I, for some reason, need it. Now, most of the time, you don't trigger scoring until you're dead broke, or it's getting close to the end of the game. So,
or if somebody's rushing the game, which can happen.
Which can happen. So I'm going to end up choosing to score. Now, in this particular game, let's just say I'm going to need a few coins. And I've noticed that my green over here has quite a few coins available to it. So I'm going to take my score marker.
You also take the salt shaker.
And the salt shaker.
The pillar marker that looks a lot like a salt shaker.
All right, and then I'm going to go to the green, and I'm going to trigger this row. Now, so then I'm triggering the scoring round. So I'm going to go to green, and so for every building cost times the bottom, and these can be modified throughout the game, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. So I'm going to add that up. So 13, I have 13 times 2, so I'll end up with 26 money. But I got a little bonus. Because I took it off of here, I also get 3 additional victory points. So I'll move myself up by 1, 2, 3, and then I will take my 26 coins. And then Randy now has a choice. Randy can choose whether to trigger a scoring round or not. Randy, what do you think?
Well, I'm not ready to score mine right now, so I'm going to move it down. But so basically, I'm foregoing getting that 3 bonus victory points, but I keep myself a potential for scoring later in a future round where I can score something once I've built it up further.
Yeah.
So you have choices to make each time, but I still get to take my usual turn if I don't score, because my options on my turn is I can take more tiles, I can purchase a building, I can just pass my turn and take 2 free money if I'm desperate. I never do that. But if you are desperate, you know, if they run out of cash.
Sometimes things happen.
Or you can score. Those are your 4 choices. And but when you score, you have to choose one that's available. So right now, Miranda has taken Villarega, Reggio.
And then you have your own personal scoring mechanisms down below on your board. For whatever reason, the person who triggers typically wants one up there on the top. I've noticed that, unless it's towards the end of the game, but I thought that was pretty interesting.
Well, I generally was trying to build up my board so that I could score, because I knew no one could take those away from me, because especially the first time we played, I kept getting stolen from up there as I would build up for something. And
are you talking about how much, even though you kicked our butts and beat us by like 100 points? Are you talking about that?
Both times I guess I have. Well, you won once, I think. Yeah.
Yes, I won once.
Out of 3, you won once. Barely.
Not barely. I had like you by 25 points.
Okay. Well, compared to my 100 and something, I think
I don't want to talk
barely.
about it. Okay, so, but yeah, okay, so everyone takes their scoring mechanisms. Now, the one thing I mentioned is that you can end up modifying your board a little bit. There's not a lot of options to modify your board, but they do have these 8-level buildings that get placed at the top, and everyone has the option to build those from the very start of the game. Now, it's hard to get 8 of not, purple.
Yeah.
So, and I was this close of getting a gold 8 or a white 8, but someone withheld the whites. Oh my gosh, I'm so
yeah, I
furious.
took it. The reason I won by as handily as I did last game is because the two of you decided to hoard tiles, and you were splitting them down the middle basically, so you could either get what you were going for. Because there's only a finite number of every color.
Well, I ended up spending them some, but I had 7, and there were 4 8s left. And I was like, I just need one more white. And so I ended up spending all my stuff, and he still would not spend the 1 white or even 2 yellows. I would have taken 2 yellows. Like, I didn't care how I got them. Just needed to move forward. And then, he wouldn't. I think he found out and he didn't want to spend it.
And we should point out the white is 3 times your victory point count. So it's the highest scoring potential.
But it is super hard to get.
Right. So it's very costly to get it. So I found it was more beneficial for me to take my 2 times one and build it up to a 3 times. Because when you do purchase one of those 8-level buildings, they have bonus tiles you can take, which can basically increase your modifier for the different cities, or there's also scoring for colors of buildings from green and yellow that you can enhance.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's the thing is that like, and all 3 times I've went with the white strategy and changing my ×3 to ×4, and I've done pretty successful with that. I second place at least most of the games, and first or 1-1 on the 1. So yeah, I mean, that was pretty interesting. I think that pretty much sums up the game. Scoring wise, I know Randy really enjoyed it. I actually did too. I thought it was fun. Not heavy on the theme, but it was totally okay. Trying to manipulate, trying to get the, being a miser on like when to buy stuff. Now your strategy is you just buy as many tokens or buy as many bricks as you can and build up your stuff really fast. Versus
not at first. I mean, obviously there's balance because you start out with everybody has 20 money at the beginning of the game, and you're going to eventually blow through that, and you've got to
really quick. It goes by really quick.
So wherever you can get a bargain on cubes, it's very important early in the game. But once I cash in, immediately I try to cash in for a lot of money as fast as I can, because once you have a lot of money at your disposal, you can basically maximize it in one spot on here. If people take all the other cubes, when you play, you might get to put 8 of them in one region.
Yeah, so now something I did notice is, so you have the option to not turn the dial. Like when you go to pick up resources, not to turn the dial, just pay the cost. And sometimes it makes sense to value. I, however, found, specifically when playing against you, it's important to turn the dial no matter what. And the reason why is it spreads it out, so you could only get 2 or 3 at a time. And that way I was able to get good deals. It stopped you from using your money. Because that's the one thing I noticed. Because we ended up stalling with the cubes, you got like 11 at once and you had the money to do it. And that really hurt us. And so there is this little bit of strategy of, okay, do they have money? Do I prolong it? Do I try to spread out these cubes so no one can go get a bunch of them? Do I have the money where I want that to happen? So it's, it was very interesting. There's a lot of thought process. There was a lot of things moving. I actually really enjoyed it. Will I play this again? Absolutely. Would I pick it out? I think I would. I'm going to give this an 8. Where are you at?
You're actually scoring higher than I am. So
really?
Because the reason I'm saying this is because I like the concept of this game. I think it's well done.
With the expansion, though. And that's something to mention here.
What the expansion adds is basically more scoring options. The gameplay feels exactly the same.
Right.
What it adds is you've got these tokens that basically are decorations to add to your buildings, and you can score those in addition to the different colors in the different cities and the different types of buildings. And then there's also the statues that basically let you get more scoring options as far as that goes. And then there's also some bonus points on the board where you can score for your, at the end of the game, normally coins are worth 5, every 5 coins worth a victory point. Well, you can get bonuses that make it worth 2 or coins for a victory point or 3. I like that variability. And I like the concept that you trigger your scoring when you want to trigger your scoring. What I don't like is, one, the game can stall out. We saw that with you guys claiming and hoarding the cubes, and we were only playing 3 players. If you have 4 players and you're playing this game, I'm afraid we'll see more of that, where it's basically going to get to the point where if everybody's trying to go for different things, there could be no cubes available to purchase.
Well, I mean, you're going to eventually have to break that stalemate. And knowing what I know now, I and this is the first time, and as you play, right, you learn, I don't think I will stall out, because stalling out will only help you. Because you were
because
totally
I was the only one
okay.
that was still spending,
Yeah, you were totally okay with flipping. What I should have done is held back my yellows and whites, but used everything else, and I didn't do that, right? To encourage him to hopefully spend a white.
Well, when you did, it helped me even more, because once you finally did, like, there was one time where I got, like, because you spent your greens and your dad spent his greens, and there was nothing else in the bag. When I drew, I got nothing but green, so I almost bought a level 8 purely in green, which was
but
awesome.
that was only the case because I held them back. Like, I shouldn't have. I should have just flipped them quickly, and just held out instead of trying to hold out for multiple things. I should have just held out for a white and spent everything else. Is what I'm trying. And that's the thing is for me though, there's a strategy there, and I appreciate games with strategy. And so it's like, when do I spend? When do I hold? What am I trying to collect? You don't want to end up in a stale, because it actually ends up helping everybody else. So I think that's the point, right?
But the other thing is, the end game feels like it's flat. It's basically, you're playing this game and it's very interesting, and then once all of the cities are gone, or all of the 8 tiles are gone, the game becomes much less interesting. And that's what I don't like about it, is at the end game, it feels like it's just a rush. I'm going to play my scoring. I'm going to play my scoring. I'm going to play my scoring. And it kind of falls flat at the end. It's, I like the game up until that point, and then it's like, okay, rush at the end.
So here's the thing, though, and this is something to consider about our play style. We are long-term, like, game end players.
Yeah.
We build. Most people don't necessarily play that way. They, for example, when we played with Robert, and then we played with Dad the first time, they were triggering the scoring way earlier. They were triggering it a little more throughout, and we don't play it that way.
But even in those 2 scenarios, I ended up playing 3 scoring tiles 3 rounds in a row, because I was...
Right, because it's ready for the end of the game.
Exactly. It just feels like that point, once that happens, there's not a whole lot of reason to build up. And at that point, the scoring, yes, I'm kind of reaping the rewards of my sowing throughout the game, but it just feels like it's a little flat.
I don't feel that way, because I was sitting there figuring out which was I, specifically with the advanced game. With the other side, I agree with you. With the base game, it maybe have seemed a little flat, but with the second one, I literally was calculating which one would get me more points. And so then I was trying to be very particular about which one I chose.
Yeah.
And then I did not like the fact that you, like, on that first game, you didn't let me score one of my peoples. So that was a jerk move.
So my scoring's not that much different. I'm just not thinking it's quite to an 8 level. I'm giving it a 7.5.
We're arguing over half a point.
Exactly. I don't think it's quite an 8 level, is what I'm saying. And those were the reasons why. I still like this game a lot. I like the fact that I like point salad games. I like the fact that you can control the scoring and you build your board the way you want it to be.
Yeah. So here's the question: you play it again?
Absolutely.
Would you pick it out?
Depending on the situation. I pick out any one of my games for any reason.
But there's a little bit difference of, like, specifically, hey, I want to play this, or tolerating it for the team, right? Would you actually use this as one of your picks moving forward?
Probably. I don't dislike this game. I like it.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying, is because there's a lot of games that we play that, I wouldn't pick this out of the crowd. This one, I feel like I would, and that's why I say it's an 8.
And again, it's an easy one to teach. it's something we could easily get your parents involved in, or you can get friends that aren't heavy gamers. It's something we can get to the table easily. I don't know that they'll grasp the strategy of it, right away, which might make them frustrated when we run up the score by 100 more points than they've got.
Well, we'll just do a penalty. I don't know. We'll do it. Yeah. Me and Randy are playing different games.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like he's playing a different game. Just him. But yeah. So, guys, I think definitely if you like, the it's not worker placement, action selection.
Action selection.
If
point
you like
salad
that,
games.
if you like a little bit of points, I don't even consider this a point salad. And the reason why I don't consider it a point salad is there's the scoring mark, I don't know. Because there's not a lot of ways to score. You score with your scoring marker.
I think there's a lot of ways to trigger your scoring, and that's what I like about it. But
no, there's different ways to score.
It's mild engine building in the sense that you're placing your buildings in the different scoring regions the way to trigger the optimal and building the right buildings. Because the real strategy of this is figuring out, okay, I've got 6 scoring rounds in the base game or 8 in the other one. What are my best potential scorings to get the maximum for my coin and my victory points that I need in order to get through? It's really about the victory points, but the coin is what you need to get to the victory points. So you have to kind of balance it.
Well, I think there is a way to use coins though as victory
points.
On the other side.
On the advance, absolutely. And that's what's drove my
score.
I
was like, dude, he abandoned the points, the victory point buildings, and went to coins because you were looking at that.
Well, yeah. Once I got a tripler on my scoring on my coin, and I got the bonus for the two coins per victory point thing. I'm hoarding coins at this point, so it depends on the different unique combos of which bonuses you can maximize. Yeah. And I like that.
All right, guys. Well, I definitely think you should check this out. If action selection is kind of your gig, if this looks interesting,
and if you like light to medium games, because this one is definitely it's not entry level, but probably a step or two above that. But there's enough meat in this to make it interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate you, and hopefully you'll come hang out with us again. We'll catch you later. Bye.